Alright, before we start this video, disclaimer, I suck at brakes. I suck at working on brakes. But I think it turned out pretty good, and I'm not able to drive the car because still waiting on head gaskets, but the brake pedal feels really good and it's not leaking anywhere, so that's a plus. But here's how I ran and flared my brake lines. Alright, so today we're going to run some brake line on the 96 Camaro. It's really nice out. I mean, it's cool out because it's been raining all day. Been a lot of clouds, so it's nice and cool. So I got my little brake line flaring kit here, and then I've got a 6-piece 3/16 brake line. .3/16 by 72. So yeah, that's 6 feet. So these are already double flared on the end. So we'll try to cut it. I'm just going to cut it right in the middle. I've got a pot cutter in here somewhere. Wow! Spiders everywhere. Spiders are invading the garage. There it is. Alright. And probably need this. The drill bits I use for like after I cut it. It kind of boogers up the threads. Or not the threads, but the hole. So I use the drill bit to kind of go in the hole to make sure the hole's nice and straight. I got a file around here somewhere. I thought it was in that bucket, but I think I put that in here too. There it is. A lot of spider webs. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut it right in half, and I'm going to take these fittings off. Now I'm going to put those fittings that came with the kit on it, these silver ones. That piece goes into the master cylinder. And then start bending some lines. I'm going to use this end for the proportioning valve and the T for the front brakes. I'm going to use the ends that are already flared for those. And I'm going to go from there, and I'll need my brake bender. Got a brake bender too. And this drawer as well. Keep all my specialty stuff in here. Which this brake line, it's really easy to bend. So sometimes I don't even use the tool part. I just use the round piece and then bend it by hand like that with the 3/16 one, which is on here because I was making some big bends in the back. Now if I had to bend it really hard, then I'll go ahead and use that. But let's go ahead and cut this in half. The way to cut it with this thing right here. You just put this on here on the brake line where you want to cut it. And then you turn this down, you make sure that your line's right in that V. And then you screw that blade piece, which is on the bottom, up into it. And once it gets tight, turn it a few times. It'll loosen up. Tighten this a little bit more. Don't go crazy with this all at once. Tighten it until it just snugs up with your finger. Turn it a few times. Tighten it until it snugs up with your finger. Turn it a few times, and eventually it'll cut it in half. But if you go too crazy on this, you're gonna squish the pipe rather than cut it. So you want to go finger tight, but you don't want to go crazy on it. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut this pipe in half. Okay, so we got it in there just like that.
right in the middle of them top 2 rollers. And then we just snugged it up with our fingers there. Nothing too crazy at once. Let's see if I can turn it with one hand. Nope, not gonna be able to. So I'll twist this around, and when it starts to twist loose, I'll tighten this a little more finger tight. And then, you know, just keep doing that process over and over until it cuts it in half. There's what the ends look like once you get them cut. I don't want to focus on them. But anyway, it's going to be galled up a little bit in the middle and on the sides, but before I go to flaring it, I'll put a drill bit in there, 3/16 drill bit, clean out the hole nice and straight, and then I file it flat, and then I file the edges around. But we're going to have to make another cut once we figure out our lengths, so I'm going to put these on there in the fittings and bolt them to the proportioning valve in the T-block for the front brakes, and then start doing some bending and see where I need to be. Alright, so here's what I come up with the front brake line. I got it there, and that's where the old brake lines ran, just like that. And then back there, and you got you got those fittings that stick out. Plus where I got these 290s right here, I got plenty of adjustment here. So I think that'll work. And the other one, I'm just going to run up a little bit and then straight back with that, and then do the same little 290s right here, and then back into there. So that's where I'm at. So I'm gonna go ahead and route that one, and then I'll work on flaring them. All right, and then I got the other line ran just like that over there. So now I'm just going to flare these, and then make sure to put the ends on first, and then flare them, and then see what we got. These lines are easy to bend, so I'll be able to maneuver them a little bit to do what we need to do. But that's what we're going to do next. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to file that down flat, and then I'm going to take a drill bit and run a drill bit through there a few times just to make sure the hole's nice and straight. See, and there's the difference after filing it. Make sure when you file it as flat as you can in relationship to the tube there. Try to get a 90-degree angle there. And then I didn't use a drill or anything, I just stuck a 7/64 drill bit in there just to clean up the rough edges. Now we're going to try to flare it. Now when you flare these, make absolutely sure you put your fitting on first. Make absolutely sure you put your fitting on first. I can't stress that enough. And I'll be honest with you, I almost. I already had it put in there and everything. But anyway, this is 3/16. Look at that. That thing's going to go way down in there in the only spot Alright. So when you put that in there, you want to put it on the end that has the beveled sides facing up. And when you tighten this up, make sure you tighten it up perfectly even all the way across. That's going to help you. And you want it sticking out. You want it sticking out almost up to the top of this little piece that you're going to be using. So that's where I put mine at. It says 3/16 on it. Right there if you can see it. But anyway, now we put that right down in our hole. Just like that. And then we're going to put the tool over it. Just like that. And we're going to tighten that nut. Now when you're tightening that down on there, try to make sure that that piece goes down nice and flat. Alright, so I got the tool on there, and it looks to be pretty straight. You want that piece parallel with this piece. And as you push it down, you want to make sure it stays that way, so it don't make your flare crooked. Then you tighten it all the way up until it goes down all the way flat on there. Then we're going to loosen this nut, take this piece out, and then we're just going to put the angled piece down in the brake line. And that's what it looks like after the first part. Then we take that little piece out there, that little piece there, and then we just put the angled piece in there, straight in there. And now we're going to tighten that up to make the double flare. Not sure how good you can see it, but that's what we wound up with. So what that'll do, also you want to look at these too. If you got that ledge sticking up like that, that's a double flare. Now if you got one that's got like a rounded divot in it, then that's when you'd use a bubble flare. But that flare goes right down in there and sets on that ledge and then pushes down on that ledge, and then that's what seals it. Well, I've got it all run, and it looks good to me. Wish I did the curves there a little bit better, but oh well. I had two of them little clip things. I dropped one down there and it just disappeared. But yeah, those aren't touching. They got a good 1/4 inch gap in between them. And now what I did was I started up here. I took the plugs out, and then I put these in and tightened them up, and then I put the lines on and tightened them up. Now when you do this, you're going to be losing fluid, but the fluid comes out real slow. Just do one at a time. I did the back one first, and then I let it drip up here, let it gravity bleed a little bit up here. After I put that one on in the back, let it gravity bleed, and then I put it there. Now when I tighten those up, when I tighten them little fittings up, I use a line wrench, of course, and then I tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen. And you'll notice every time you tighten, you get a little bit more turn on your tighten. And when you stop getting a little turn on your tighten, then go ahead and give it another little bitty tighten turn up. And same thing, after I got that one all the way on, then I did the back one. Same way, put the brass fitting in there, and then put the line fitting in there, put the line and fitting on there. Tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, loosen. And the same thing down here. So I felt this one give. I hope this brass piece didn't break again, because I've broken one of those before. But we'll know if it leaks. If it leaks, I'll take that brass fitting out. But yeah, I broke one of those before. But I'm going to bleed them a little bit, hit the brakes some, make sure nothing leaks. But that's pretty much it. And now I like the way it turned out. Again, I could have probably took some measurements and done a little better, but I just kind of went with it. It don't look too bad. The bends could be a little bit better there, but I'll get another one in plastic tabs and put another one there, and then one back there where the lines are a 1/4 inch apart and cross over. But that'll do it. Okay, so what I did was I cracked the bleeder. I put that hose over it just barely enough to fit over the nipple, and then I let it gravity bleed a little bit. Then I stuck it down in that brake fluid. Make sure the tip of that hose is submerged all the way in brake fluid. So I got the hose to where it goes almost to the bottom, and I usually start with that much fluid, and the hose is submerged in it. And then you just pump your brakes, check your reservoir, fill your reservoir up as needed, pump your brakes, check the reservoir as needed, pump your brakes. So I started on the driver driver rear, then I did the passenger rear. I started on the passenger rear, and then I did the driver rear, and then I did the passenger front, and now I'm on the driver front. And I did 10 pumps. I did 100 pumps per each one. And I would, on the back, I'd do 20 pumps. Then I'd fill my reservoir. On the front, it seems like the pedal travels further, so I did 15 pumps. But I did a total of 100 pumps on all four corners. And I might go through it and do 100 pumps on each corner again, seeing how it feels.
And that pretty much did it. I put some paper towels down around where I was working at and let it set overnight to see if anything would drip on those paper towels, and it didn't. And then today during lunch, I went out there and I pumped them brakes hard a few times. I smashed them hard, pumped them hard, and there's still no leaks, and the brake pedal feels really good. But just make sure that when you're doing that bleeding process, that you make sure that your tube is on the nipple really good, and on the brake bleeder nipple really good, and make so it don't pop off, and make sure that your line in your container for fluid, that the line that comes off the brake bleeder nipple is all the way submerged in the fluid. And make sure you frequently check and refill your reservoir, because if you run out of fluid on your reservoir, you got to start completely over, from bleeding the master cylinder again to bleeding all four corners again. So, but everything feels good, and the brakes feel really good, so I'm just going to leave it like that until we get the car back running, see how it feels. And if I feel it needs bled more, then I'll bleed it some more.